An old barn gets a brand new look.
Ava Solberger gets stuck in Richmond, Vermont to see who is restoring the historic building.
We are here in Richmond at the Vermont Youth Conservation Corps campus, and behind me is the East Monitor Barn. It is in the process of being restored.
And now we get to do with the Timber Framers Guild too, which are some of my favorite people on earth. We put on a lot of events like this. This is a volunteer workshop. You're driving, the 89 Route 2 corridor, you see the two barns.
The West Barn is our headquarters now. Having restored the West Barn about 20 years ago, we're really excited to be restoring the East Barn.
Well, it's an iconic piece of our landscape.
So the East Monitor Barn was built in 1901 by Charles Miller. It's a great example of a gable front bank barn, so it's built into a bank.
If you think about it as an economic engine of its time and a level of craftsmanship, as you walk through it, it just feels like a cathedral. This is at once a project of barn restoration, but it's also a community building project. And we have timber framers from the local area as well as from across the country.
So one of the projects with the Timber Framers Guild is cutting the replacement beam that will go across here, matching the size and dimensions and all the joinery of all the old stuff. So the barn weighs about 500,000 pounds, 250 tons, 168,000 pounds of steel I-beams, 4,000 pieces of cribbing, all holding it up in the air. So
this is the wall that was pushing.
Yeah. So you can kind of see the wing wall of stone back there. That stone carries all the way through the building as the actual foundation. So watch your footing here. It's a little bit of a scramble, some rocks, some roots. The upper portion of the barn actually got pushed downhill a foot. You can kind of duck your head in here, even though this thing's 54 by 120 and weighs 500,000 pounds and it's racked. We can figure out a way to lift it up and correct those issues and replace things that need replacing. And so the plan is to basically go from the ground up. So we're dealing with this foundation and sort of lower structural issues. Next year we'll be getting the floor there set, and then we'll actually tear the roof open next year.
And so we have excavators, we have masons, we have timber framers, we have engineers. And it's fun to think about the fact that we're creating jobs in the here and now, but it's also going to be a place that creates jobs for young people. We offer young adults opportunities to work in small teams on public service projects.
I was the ranger at Quechee State Park. The life skills that you learn when you're living with a peer group, I took away a lot from my experience with the Youth Corps. Yeah, it hits me on the heartstrings a little bit.
I know, I can tell.
So barns speak to that, that time past of, this agricultural history of Vermont where we were, had a large dairy industry. And you're introducing, light and ventilation into the peak of the building. And it was designed to be this perfect gravity feed system. So your hay comes in up above here. This whole thing would have been full of loose hay. One of the things that's kind of cool, I think, is so I used to live here. This milk house that used to be connected to the barn, $400 a month while I was in grad school. And I think it was February, started cutting the repair pieces for that barn right here. So it was a pretty easy kind of evolution of living at this super cool barn to being really intrigued by old barns and wanting to do whatever I could to kind of continue working on them.
By creating more space in this historic barn, we're able to create housing in other parts of our campus. In any given year, we'll have close to 200 Corps members who come into the organization and complete 90,000 hours of public service work. And this barn will increase our capacity to do that.
I can't wait to come back here and see this restored barn being put to good use. And we will get stuck in Vermont with you again real soon.